All right, guys, I want to tell you about my first concert experience I had when I was a kid. Actually, my second concert. First concert experience is a whole different video, a whole different experience. I'll share that with you in a separate video. My second concert experience I ever had when I was a kid was 1984, the Jacksons Victory Tour, 1984. And we lived in Las Vegas at the time in 1984, and my mom somehow she had gotten tickets. She'd gotten tickets to two tickets to the show in Los Angeles. It was at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California, and I believe it was either the last night of the tour or the second to last night. Anyway, the way it worked was they were busing a bunch of people out from Las Vegas to Los Angeles to go see the show. I think it was like a radio promo or something like that. Anyway, my dad decided to take me to the show, and so we took a couple of days. Actually, I think we did it all in one day. We left early in the morning from Vegas aboard a bus, and there was us and probably about, I don't know, maybe 30 other families, you know, and we all went out, bus to Los Angeles. And mind you, this was in '84. This was at the height of Jackson Mania. This was Thriller, at the peak of Thriller, MTV, all that. It was at the height of all the Jackson craze. As we were about a mile away, I think, from the stadium, from Dodger Stadium, you could see the stadium in the distance because the whole thing was lit up by these searchlights that just beamed straight up in the air. And the roads leading to the stadium were all there were these banners, these huge banners that they put that were across the whole highway, and there were the Jackson Victory Tour banners, and leading all the way up to the stadium. And it was just, oh my gosh. I mean, it's hard to explain, you know, people, especially, you know, to young people nowadays, that excitement, because, you know, at the time, you really couldn't see Michael Jackson anywhere. He didn't do interviews. He didn't do like the Tonight Show or any of those kind of like talk shows or anything like that. The only time you ever really saw him was in like his music videos on MTV at the time, and occasionally like in a television appearance, like a special, like the Jacksons when they did the Motown 25 special, something like that, or the Grammys or something like that. Other than that, you just, you know, you didn't really see him. So this was just beyond exciting. So I remember, so as we pulled in, we got closer to the stadium and everybody got out of the bus and they filed everybody into the stadium. This was the first time, I think, as a kid too, I think I had ever been in a stadium that, you know, something that huge. And I remember we found our seats, we took our seats. They weren't really close to the stage, but it wasn't too far back that you couldn't really enjoy it. Hang on a second, I'm gonna cross the street. Whew. Yeah, so they weren't too far back that you could enjoy it because they had these big, huge screens on the side, so you could see everything, you know, clearly, and you could sort of see the stage. I mean, you could see the stage very clear from where we were, and of course you could hear it because the sound was pretty amazing. Anyway, So the whole show, my takeaway from really the whole concert was, people asked me about it, and I think my takeaway from the whole thing was how huge the whole thing was. The whole experience was just larger than life, just enormous. Everything from the just the size of the stadium to the size of the stage to just him, Michael, just being there. And he did all the songs. I knew every single song in the show, because at the time I was a huge Michael Jackson fan. I mean, like everybody else, and I mean everybody else at the time. Huge Michael Jackson fan. And he did most of their big hits at the time. He didn't do every song off of Thriller. He actually did perform the song Thriller. He did Beat It, Billie Jean, Human Nature, and Wanna Be Starting Something off the Thriller album. And they did, of course, he did songs off the Wall. He did Jackson 5 medley. I think Jermaine Jackson did like a medley of his hits while Michael went back to change. And yeah, it was just an amazing experience. But I think if there's one thing one takeaway I remember that kind of shocked me, that I didn't really heard too many people talk about, but it took me back a little bit, that Michael's performance in person was much more aggressive than I was expecting. And I mean like aggressive, like in his albums, his vocals were, he was always really in the pocket, but his vocals on his albums were mostly smooth, in person. The thing that kind of took me back was the aggressiveness and almost borderline angry in certain parts. And that kind of took me back a little bit. I remember that. I gotta be honest. I was a little bit not disappointed, but just kind of shocked. Like, it wasn't what I was expecting. And it wasn't all of his songs. It was just a few numbers. And the other thing too, which kind of no one really talks about, was that whole crotch grabbing thing that he does. That he was really known for much later in his career. He was doing that back then. He was doing that in that show. And I remember when we were driving back on the bus, I remember one of the mothers sort of being shocked about that. She was like, "Did you see how many times he grabbed his crotch?" Or something like that. But he was doing that back then. Anyway, the whole experience was just beyond incredible. And so I just wanted to share that with you. And anybody else, I'd love to hear what your experience, where your first concert experience was. Just leave me a comment down below. Let me know. Let's talk about it. All right. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep in touch. All right. Talk to you guys later.